Those who are seasoned know that I've been trying to get us to El Paso for 10 years. So thank you for finally making that happen. Make the best of it. Thank you, Dave. Where's Dave?
Here.
Everything you did to facilitate.
Not late.
Super day.
And to Jody for coordinating the drive, the donation drive. Where's Jody? Yes. All right. As you all know, our secretary had an unfortunate travel mishap and isn't here with us today. Jocelyn has volunteered.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
And has received the blessing, I assume, from Anna and also from our recent past secretary to take over for us today. So if there is, we can entertain a motion to have her be secretary pro tem officially for today. So.
A motion to make Jocelyn secretary pro tem second for this meeting.
Is there any objection to that? Okay, cool. Congratulations. All right, so when she's ready, she'll do the roll call. Then we'll be at ease for a few minutes after that, so she can do the calculations.
I don't know if y'all can hear me. I tried to be loud. Okay. I don't have to carry my pen. Alright, here we go. Wendy W. Russell. Anastasia Wilford. Yeah. Kate Fraser. Here. Michelle Beaton. Here. Jesse Cowart. Here. Jeff Miller.
Here.
Scott Talley.
Here.
Aaron Ramos.
Here.
Billy Pierce. Billy Pierce. Jody Cole. Here. Nathan Polsky.
Here.
Paul Thompson. Paul Thompson. Daniel Bledsoe. Daniel Bledsoe. Jocelyn Pankey here. Trey Holcomb. Trey Holcomb. Amanda Gibbs.
Present.
Elizabeth Miller. Elizabeth Miller. Mike Dooling. Hannah Kennedy. Hannah Kennedy. Michael Coogan.
Here.
Stephen Haskett.
Here.
Ted Brown. Ted Brown. Carol Unsicker. Here. Kevin Hale.
In the flesh.
Mary.
Jacob Bradley. Jacob Bradley. Janae LeBlanc. Janae LeBlanc. Patrick Mitchell.
Here.
Paul Dar.
Present.
Nathan Garza.
Here.
Nolan Schmitz. Nolan Schmitz. Lex Green. Lex Green. Renee Perez.
Here.
Joe Roberts. Joe Roberts. Rudy Hernandez. Rudy Hernandez. Joe Burns.
Here.
Darren Pollock.
Here.
Stephanie Berlin.
Here.
Austin Hogan.
Here.
Sorry. Frank Lozano. Frank Lozano. Nikki Brashear. Nikki Brashear. Bernard Johnson. Bernard Johnson. David Marino.
Here.
John Wilford. John Wilford. Noah Kirby. Noah Kirby. Colby Micey. Colby Micey. Jack Westbrook.
Here.
Let me get the notes and make sure that we got everyone. I didn't miss anybody. Please. Anastasia Wilford. Billy Pierce. Paul Thompson. Daniel Bledsoe. Trey Holcomb. Elizabeth Miller. Hannah Kennedy. Ted Brown. Jacob Bradley. Janae LeBlanc. Nolan Schmidt. Lex Green. Joe Roberts. Rudy Hernandez. Frank Lozano. Nikki Brashear. Bernard Johnson. John Wilford. Noah Kirby. Colby Micey. Thank you.
All right, so we do a couple things. Is there anybody here not on SLEC who would like to speak during public comment?
Jared, do we have one?
Yeah. We do. All right, well then we'll be at ease for the time it takes for Jocelyn to get the numbers run. Yes.
If you don't have your badges, they're back here. Sorry, you're making me feel bad for later.
Yeah, no,
You don't need no badges.
You don't have your badge on, you can't vote.
Thank you.
Don't kill him, Dave.
Your award.
You guys are going to see a pigeon under here.
Usually awesome.
Are you trying to Oh, okay.
I am an encourager. Good or bad. Yeah, right. See how far we can go. What's that movie, Crank? With Jason Strahan? Right.
That means right in
There's a reason why I give everyone my phone number. Text me, Discord me, or email me.
I'm sure I got it. Yep.
The GPS says, but I managed to do it in about 7.5 completions. But I also did 900.
Yes.
There was no problem. Just. I probably could have done easily 700.
I was gonna say, I passed probably, but we were doing 9 jobs in one place.
I saw 2 GPSs the whole way here. No city copies. And the first one was I came through Roundhouse, well, Georgetown. I went 29 to 190, and then 190 to Iran, and then I got down. But 190 to I saw 1 copy in India. And I was really good.
Yeah, thank you, David, for the coffee,
That was
tea, and everything.
That little area right there, right there, it comes in Iran. Yeah.
But then it's
Iran.
There's a reason why.
There by the Red River, Elder Range.
Yeah, but the reality is.
We gotta do things, man.
We're finally getting a machine gun man.
It's
I got drunk through alcohol.
Oh, yeah. I know, all her was coyote.
I've looked. I've looked. I've out there. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know, so I'm looking for.
I forgot about that.
Except for their, gotta let her see
So it's like it's microwave.
They're gonna go with J. Oh, and the G, sometimes the G.
As long as. But
Even if
It doesn't really affect. I'll wait until it's your turn. And then
Oh, no.
David, even it's like.
I'm watching it on the camera. Is it me?
It's probably Jake's over there.
You're much more self-aware.
That's the joke.
kind of weird, right?
That's not. That's a different.
Are you analogizing it like also to a Chinese community and somebody right now raised the fact that is that the analogy?
The body is currently 47 members, 27 are present, 20 are absent. Quorum is 24. Rudy Hernandez has been removed for absences.
I don't believe.
It didn't matter, it wasn't a
Mr. Ramos?
My understanding was the June meeting that we had online would reset your.
That was a special meeting. It has no bearing on attendance.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Cite it. Find it in writing and cite it. It's a-
Per the bylaws,
Uh-huh.
it says removal for absence, if a party officer or district representative is absent from each such meeting of the select, the meeting was of the select. Call to order, at the call to order of the second meeting. So that was a meeting of the select, there were motions that were made, and it did have, it was announced properly.
No, it's not. That was never the intention of the attendance for special meetings rule. So I'm going to say that that's not correct. He was removed, and if SLEC wants to take further action on that,
I would like to do ruling.
okay? We have an appeal from the ruling of the chair, appealing the removal of Rudy Hernandez.
Who made that, please?
Nathan,
Thank you.
what's your SD?
8.
I have a question. Do we have listed the people who showed up to the electronic meeting? Just,
It should be in the minutes from that meeting.
okay.
No, because the absolute.
Okay.
Sorry.
So was the appeal seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have the dollars. Are they on the website up right now? Yeah, I think everybody should read the bylaw right now. All of them pertaining to.
You need to go to www.lbtexas.org. It glitches out right now if you don't work for the.
So everybody needs to read it because you're all about to be voting on how to interpret it.
May I point the body to this specific bylaws question?
Sure.
For the LP Texas bylaws, it is section 4.a.8. .I, which is the removal for absences.
4A8I.
Correct. And then in the select bylaws, it would be section 4. Governance. My feel is that A,
Wait, isn't this also controlled by
well, the bylaws of
Yes.
select does not include anything about absences.
So we need to find a section about the electronic meetings. Yes, so we've got that one for removal for absences. Absence shall be counted as any meeting for the purpose of these.
And these select bylaws specify electronic meetings.
So we need to find the bylaw that talks about
That's in the select bylaws.
But then side by side.
We've got to find them all first.
Okay.
Yeah, you're making some,
The other one is bylaws.
That's something different.
Yeah, it was electronic.
So HTTP.
Can you make it bigger?
So no, there was not 2 weeks notice given because it was a special meeting.
But that's,
So it was
That's for
72.
That's
72
only for,
hours.
that's only for removal though.
Absence should be counted. Spot presence.
So it's okay, and then that's from our regular bylaws, right?
this is the
Select
select
bylaws.
bylaws of select.
Okay, is there anything in our other bylaws?
And the other ones were-
There's everything about meetings in the select ones, that's what I'm trying to do.
4-8.
4-8.
Yeah. 4-8-8.
That's just, but nothing about the meetings, like how we distinguish between meetings.
I could find no definition of meeting in any of the documents.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
But who else could it be?
okay, so we have an appeal from the ruling of the chair. My ruling is that Rudy Hernandez is removed because he's missed 2 consecutive meetings. Yes, and knowing that the intention of the electronic meeting option when we put it in was not for it to replace in any way these kind of meetings. So we have an appeal, it's been seconded. I get first and last word. You may speak to your objection or to your appeal.
So just looking at the wording, rules as written, use as intended. As written, the removal does not specify a select meeting, it just says a meeting of the select body, which electronic meetings count as a meeting of the select body. But then the second part of the removal is
I do have a request for information, just to clarify.
You can be next. Are you?
Yeah.
I'm still listening to Mr.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah. You can
So-
raise your hands if you want to be recognized to speak on this in any way.
So the removal for part A does say for 2 successive meetings of the select. Does not specify what type of meeting. The absence should be counted against the meeting if you're not 2 weeks prior notice given. I agree that if this was an electronic meeting that would have 2 weeks prior notice, then it would count. And due to the 72-hour notice that was given for it, it would not count again.
Okay, but in this case, he was present at that one, so
Correct.
that's what you're saying.
Correct. If you said that.
Okay, Mr. Burns.
I just want to be clear, what 2 absences are you claiming in your ruling that he had as consecutive absences?
The most recent past in-person meeting and this. This would be his second absence,
Okay.
consecutive absence.
So effectively, you're ruling that that electronic meeting that we had wasn't a meeting of select for purposes of
That is
absence?
correct, and I believe we have precedent for that.
Okay.
Yes, I'm also ruling up based on precedent.
So I'd like to put you on the list to speak against.
It's your turn.
Okay, sorry, that was a request for information, I apologize. No, I would speak against that because I don't think the bylaws support ruling that last, meeting against him as far as absences go. I don't see anything in the bylaws that would allow us to claim that as an absence. And I think in a position like this, we have to err on the side of conservatism when it comes to these things. We're taking a pretty bold move to remove someone from SLEC. And if we don't have clear bylaws to do that, then we shouldn't do that. Sorry.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it doesn't say quarterly meetings. If it did have that word in it, then it would be clear that it would count. But because it just says two successive meetings, then I also am for the appeal.
Mr. Westbrook.
Madam Chair, I'm for your position on this. I would like the Vice Chair to scroll up. I think that's the right page. Scroll up just where it says 4. You go all the way up to 4.
Oh, section 4?
Section 4. No, I don't think it's-
Just Roman numeral 4, like the main section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, must be the other page. Yeah.
There's another set of bylaws you might be looking for.
So I agree with you. You'll notice on 4B there, is that where it talks about the 2 weeks notice?
So in our in-person meetings, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
For our electronic meetings, it's 72 hours.
Right, okay. So, but the other part was, in that other section, it talked about, let's go back to where we were.
Yeah, this other one says 2 weeks.
Right, the rule he's pointing to is what goes against this. It basically says it can only be counted as an absence if it's a meeting that was given 2 weeks notice. And that electronic meeting wasn't.
Correct.
But he was at that meeting, he missed their in-person meeting
Well,
before that.
You're trying to use an electronic meeting to reset someone's absences.
So,
Okay, gotcha.
there were, as you pointed out, Madam Chair, there
Yes.
was not 2 weeks notice given for that electronic meeting. Ergo, it cannot apply to what we're discussing, and therefore, everybody, in my humble opinion, should vote for the chair's ruling.
All right.
Oh. I'll let somebody else call.
I would like to allow other people to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I have you and have Mr. Mitchell. Next is Mr. Hoover.
My point is, I understand the importance of having the in-person meeting, given we have scheduled time for public comments about members, which is why we move the meeting all over the state, try to get as much representation from members as possible. But in order to do the business of this meeting, sometimes we have to meet outside of these quarterly meetings. And when we do that, we're doing business of SLEC. For me, that counts as being present. Everyone who showed up at the electronic meeting was there to do the business of SLEC. And that for me, that counts as participation. That's all.
All right, thank you. Is there any objection to hearing from Donovan, who's not on this body, but?
No, I am ex officio officially now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Details.
Go ahead.
So, first of all, I would like to say that bylaws committee will clarify this language one way or the other.
Thank you.
However, when I read this, the section for removal of absences clearly indicates qualifying criteria for a meeting that the absence section covers. So that means that the definition is any meeting where 2 weeks is given. So I want people to note that in-person versus electronic is irrelevant to the party bylaws. What matters is the notice. So if you've given 2 weeks notice on the meeting, then it counts for absences in this section. Now, generally speaking, in all reading of the rules, it's best to take the most plain meaning of the rules that you can make. And the most plain meaning would be that the what qualifies you to be absent for a meeting for the purposes of this section would also be the criteria for being in attendance according to the same section. It's actually an alternate reading, although it's a fair reading. It's an alternate reading and not the most straightforward reading for that section to then say, well, an absence means for this meeting type, but attendance means for a different meeting type. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate.
So the one thing I'd like to point out is it was a department that requested the meeting of a special meeting for SLEC. And I want to do say that I support the ruling of the chair because it was a department or a committee that had requested the special meeting. It wasn't a regular agenda of the regular things that we have for SLEC. And due to that committee's request and their time frame, it's considered a special meeting. I support the ruling of the chair.
Point of clarification.
I've got people in order, so unless you have a privileged motion, we're going to keep going through the queue. Mr. Marino?
SD 29. I'd just like to point out, if we're going to use the electronic meeting to count to reset their presence, then anybody who was absent from that meeting, and that was their second absent, should have been removed after that meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, can't have it that way.
Yes, you can.
Mr. Mitchell, and then Mr. Lake.
So, in that part of the bylaws there, it says only an absence shall be counted. Again, so that's the same thing about attendance being counted for. You know, 2 weeks notice.
So in other words, we're not going to take attendance, but we're going to count people absent?
Or take attendance, but it only counts, absence only counts against them if it's 2 weeks notice.
Okay, so the absence does, so so how does that help your friend? How does that help Rudy? Mr. Ramos.
I'd like to read from the SLEC Discord some statements made by Anastasia Wilford and yourself. Anastasia Wilford, tag select, attendance at this meeting is incredibly important. This is for the electronic meeting.
Okay.
However, I feel it's important to make sure the body knows that because there was not a minimum of 2 weeks notice for this meeting, attendance today will not count against our 2 absent rule. There was clarification from Nathan Pulaski. To clarify, it does count toward being present and would reset someone's absence if they missed the last quarterly meeting. Anastasia responded, as I interpret the rules, if a person missed the meeting in May but was in attendance tonight, that would reset them back to 0. You did, at that point, did say you did not interpret it that way, but that may be many people's understanding because we did have an officer state that prior to that meeting.
I agree. I think that's what I've heard too.
All right, I have Mr. Hale. Call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you can't do that because I actually still get to speak.
Okay.
I've made my point. My interpretation has not changed. Thank you for putting this on the bylaws to clarify. I do not believe under any circumstances that an electronic meeting should ever replace this right here. The intention of allowing us to conduct business electronically was because we went through a period where we were not allowed to meet. And it became very apparent that there were going to be things that we needed to do online together, sometimes in an emergency situation, which is why we adjusted it to 72 hours for electronic meetings. Yes, the wording is not perfect, but the intent is what it is, and people should not be able to just miss meetings or come to every other one and get to stay on SLEC and then be saved by the grace of an electronic meeting that was for an emergency purpose. Not the same. I appreciate your zeal in trying to establish this and set this precedent, but my opinion hasn't changed. So at this point, the question has been called. We will. Is there any objections to calling all questions? Well, it doesn't matter. I prefer question. Yes.
Clarify the positions on the yes and the no's.
Yes, of course. So we're going to proceed to a vote on this. It is just a majority to overturn the ruling. If you vote yes, you are actually voting to uphold the ruling, which is that that electronic meeting has no bearing, does not save anybody from the absence rule. Mr. Hernandez, since that's the only case we're dealing with right now, missed the most recent previous in-person meeting and is not here today. Therefore, the removal is happening today. If you agree with that, then you would vote yes to uphold the ruling. If you disagree with that, then you would vote no, and would require a majority no to overturn it. Is everybody clear on that? Okay. Would you like a roll call on this? Yes, let's do roll call on this. That'll be good information for the bylaws committee to use. It's very important. It's going to be 24. What's 2/3? We didn't.
24 was 4, and 27 was
It may
present.
change depending on how it is.
27.
Give me a second. Yeah, I think it'll change even if one drops off. Yeah, a minimum of 2.
Yeah, that counts.
2/3 would be 30. 32.
The body.
Oh, Mr. Pankey, help. You're right. It's an in-person meeting. That's the other difference. At an in-person meeting, it's based on yes, who's here. It's yes, by who's here. So that number is going to be
Should we,
yes.
can we clarify the statement that Kate made earlier that was the electronic meeting requested to be called by the committee, or was it at the request of the chair?
It was called by me for expediency because they were the ones who needed it done. Yeah. But the only reason it existed was because they had business they needed to do.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear.
Question for information?
Yes.
After we make this vote, if it is determined that Rudy is saved, will that set precedent for future electronic meetings?
Well, I guess it depends on how you view precedent, because there's already been precedent set, and this room is now considering whether or not to change it. So I guess it depends on who the next group is that has to face this situation.
And I don't think it would matter why we end up.
Yeah, I mean, if the bylaws change either way.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be just a one.
So between now and April, who knows?
We're happy to take input on which way you want it.
Yeah. All right, we
Just
are.
define it, I don't care which way.
14. Yes, so just a reminder while we're waiting, voting yes on the appeal. It's kind of backwards. A yes vote actually upholds the chair's ruling. So the question is, will the chair's ruling be upheld? Yes is in support of the chair's ruling. No is to overturn the chair's ruling, and it requires 14 votes.
Yes, but it's to remove the chair's ruling to remove.
Correct. To uphold the chair's ruling to remove in this case, yes. Yeah. We reinstate people all the time. There's 20
It's a piece of cake to give you a step. I mean,
Depends on your.
I'll give you the step by step process.
Be the chair of the county.
Nobody else wanted to do it.
So what would you remind us?
Can I have order, please?
That's what it's about. If you would mind reminding the group that side grouping while we're trying to conduct business prevents us from doing that. And we would also remind them that we're on a time schedule and we're already past that. And so the more of that to happen, so less visits will get done.
Right, thank you. Yes, I will echo Mr. Westbrook's concerns. The side conversations are very, very audible to me. And I can tell that people in the back are having a hard time hearing speakers up here also. So please, hit it. Use sticky notes. You've got notepads in front of you.
Discord.
There you go. But also pay attention. Okay.
All right, we're going. Kyle Russell,
Yes.
Kate Prather,
Yes.
Michelle Wigington,
Yes.
Jesse Cowart,
Yes.
Jeff Miller,
No.
Scott Talley,
No.
Aaron Ramos,
Staying.
Jody Cole,
Yes.
Nathan Polsky,
No.
Jocelyn Pankey, yes. Amanda Gibbs,
Yes.
Mike Dooling,
Yes.
Michael Coogan,
Yes.
Yes.
Stephen Haskett,
Yes.
Carol Unsicker,
Abstain.
Kevin Hale,
Yes.
Patrick Mitchell,
No.
Paul Dar,
Yes.
Nathan Garza,
Yes.
Renee Perez,
Yes.
Joe Burns,
Against. No.
Darren Pollock,
Aye.
Stephanie Berlin,
Yes.
Austin Hugan,
No.
Dave Marino,
Yes.
Jack Westbrook,
Yes.
Whitney Billiard.
Six, three. The chair's ruling is upheld. Mr. Hernandez is removed. For absences.
What was the vote?
18-6-3. Okay. 14 to overturn. All right, so. Yes, we are now officially in public comment. Don't see anybody seeking to be recognized. All right, so we go to the adoption of the agenda. So a couple things I would like to note. You had the draft agenda a couple weeks ago, and then last week the final proposed agenda. The only thing that I did differently since then, that I've also reversed this morning, was to add Mr. Wilford, who had originally been overlooked. That department was not on the last template that I used for the agenda. So I added 15 minutes for Mr. Wilford, and then he's not here. So I've taken that back out. So we're back to that. And then the other thing is the communications department report will be delivered by Mr. Miller. So other than that, this agenda is as you have already seen it.
Point of information, sorry, I just had a question. I know this might not be germane to the topic, but would I be absent for the entirety of the meeting because I wasn't able to vote during this past one? Or
were you here last time?
I was here last time, so I'm technically not removed, but I didn't get to vote on the last motion. So I was just
so the removal, right? So you're. It depends. Another thing that bylaws committee needs to consider. Your first absence, or your first, again, absence, if you keep getting reset by coming every other time, then once you come in, you're counted present. But if you are not present for roll call on the next one, you're absent and you're removed.
But I mean, for the purpose of today's meeting, would I be able to vote, or am I technically absent right now?
You were here last time. Yes, you can vote. You're here. You are here. The moment you come in, if it's your first absence, you're here.
All right, because I just couldn't vote on that last vote that we just had.
She didn't call it.
Oh,
yeah. That is fine.
But had you already,
I wouldn't,
had you already added him to the
I
list?
wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, well, that's not also technically your fault, because it's not your responsibility to be also monitoring the door. So, was it gonna change the outcome?
No.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But under normal circumstances, yes, you'd be able to participate, it's just a matter of making sure that the secretary is able to recognize you and put you on the roll for that day. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Are you okay with her recording as a yes vote?
That's, I mean, just putting me as abstain since I didn't vote.
Okay.
That's most accurate.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Westbrook?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we accept the agenda as the chair has described it.
Second.
Second.
Objection.
All right, is there any objection to adopting this agenda? I hear an objection. Okay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I rise to make a motion to the objection via agenda as presented. I propose that we insert a new motion to create a committee for purpose of revising the voting resolution which will be presented at the next select meeting. The reason for this motion is that the current wording and content of the voting resolution may need further refinement to ensure the effectiveness and alignment with the goals. By creating a dedicated committee to work on these revisions, we can ensure that the resolution is well crafted and represents the best interest of our organization. I move that we suspend the current agenda adoption and then entertain the consideration of this new motion to create a committee for the provision of the resolution. Once the committee is formed, then we can work diligently to propose the necessary revisions, which we can then be presented and discussed in the next meeting. I'm confident that the expertise and diverse perspectives within the committee will make the resolution that is comprehensive and impactful. Therefore, I urge the body to support the motion and allow for a thorough revision process before presenting the resolution of the next.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
request for information.
Mr. Westbrook?
Is there a reason that this was not presented in time for the agenda to be presented?
We'll get to that, we're not in debate yet.
Sorry about that.
I have a couple points. One, you would not be suspending anything. We are in the item to adopt the agenda. People can offer amendments to the agenda at this time without suspending anything. So we don't want to add an extra layer of stuff there. But I will tell you that adopting the agenda, the currently proposed agenda with new business without notice, is going to require 2/3 to amend it in that way. Okay. I also have a question just about when we get to that point on the agenda, do you already know how you want that committee to be populated?
Yes.
Okay. So we wouldn't have to spend time at that point figuring out how many, what circumstances, okay, or what criteria, all right. Okay, so we have a motion to amend the proposed agenda by adding new business without notice. Require 2/3 to do that, to add to what's already here, because we do not already have a category for this. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any objection to adding this item? Okay, we have objection. So, you have already spoken to it, I think, in your original motion. Mr. Westbrook, you may speak to your objection.
Well, my request for information earlier was, what's the reason that it wasn't presented in time of fashion? To be on the agenda.
I can speak to that. The reason that it wasn't put on the agenda was due to a chain of events that when this resolution was originally proposed, it was meant to be at this meeting, and it was not able to be placed on the agenda. And so there was a quorum vote for it. A quorum vote, the motion failed. And so therefore, this is just a committee that is to be made so that we can do a consensus. And this is something that I want the SLEC to be aware of at all times. So the motion is made in such a way so that we can have a report at the next meeting, and we can either adopt it or reject the report. That's the way it should be. And that's it.
I would just like to quickly then further my objection to doing that, because I've already talked about it on forum. We can do that later, and same time dealing with such things when they're not on the agenda in kind of a fashion. I understand your reasoning, but we've got other business to take care of, and we need to get out of here in a timely manner. I think this is against getting that done. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I see one more person seeking to be recognized, but I want to clarify that I think I missed it in his original motion, but you want to add 5 minutes to that item later in the day when it's perfect, it would come after new business with notice. So after we've done these things, that's when we would do it. And he's asking for 5 minutes, so I just want to clarify that for people.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Mr. Hugan.
I want to speak in favor of this. This motion to create the committee was done by the people that across the board who voted for the Bruin resolution, those who abstained, and those who voted against it. Everyone agrees that the motion is good. We just have disagreements on the wording. We're just trying to figure out what that wording is. So this is pretty much a cross section of everyone who voted on this thing to come together and figure that out. So I think that's a good thing for this community.
Anyone else seeking to be recognized on this? Mr. Perez and then Mr. Mayor.
So this is an opportunity for.
Okay, I just want to say real quick, what we're talking about right now is whether or not we're going to add this to the agenda. We're not talking about the merits of the committee or the resolution. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, the question has been called. And no one's going to second that.
I thought that, yes.
Is there any objection to calling the question?
Time
Again,
change.
just on adding this to the agenda. Okay. All right, so is there any objection now to adding it to the agenda? Everybody can live with it at this point. Okay, sweet. We've added 5 minutes to the agenda under new business without notice. Madam Secretary, do you need me to amend the agenda on my version of it, or can you? Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll handle that later. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Moving on. So now we still have the adoption of the agenda. So the agenda has been amended that way so far. Is there anyone?
Motion to adopt it.
No, the motion has already been made to adopt it, so we've already gotten that one amendment in. Okay, thank you. All right, so we are back to adopting this agenda. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as amended? Hearing no objections, we have an agenda. So that just put us 5. No problem. Yeah, we'll make it up. Okay.
I'll put us in the black like usual.
The next item is adoption of previous meetings minutes. With Ms. Wilford not here, I do believe she sent what we needed.
Yeah, sure.
Were they already on the forum?
They're already on the board.
Okay,
yes.
so everybody has had an opportunity to see them already. And
Already, Hernandez?
this time we can entertain.
After all this, I'm sorry. Wrong dude.
Make the motion to adopt them. Yep. Mr. Hale?
Let's adopt these minutes.
And I believe Mr. Garza has seconded. Is there any objection to adopting the minutes from the previous meeting, which was the May meeting? Hearing no objections, we have adopted the previous meeting's minutes.
We also. So they're the online minutes as well.
Oh, okay, so we've got 2 sets.
We do.
Okay. All right, so that was for the May meeting, and then also we need to approve the minutes of the online meeting, which was strictly about convention. That one? Yeah, okay. Again, anyone?
I move to approve the online meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Hugan seconded. Any objection to adopting or approving the minutes from the online meeting? Okay, those are also adopted or approved. Okay, next we have officer reports. I'll start. I will try not to go over my time. Okay, so generally, same stuff, flux calls, meetings with staff and officers, ongoing on a regular basis. Probably a lot of us sick of each other. Lots of contracts that I've been dealing with for the convention specifically, which I can talk a little bit more about later, but I got the second draft of the contract for the convention, the Corpus Christi venue. specifically the conference center. I was much more comfortable with that plan after I got to go there. As soon as that meeting was over, I immediately planned to go to Corpus Christi. I arrived on July 5th, which is probably not the best day for me to see Corpus right after the 4th of July. But we handled it well. The Convention and Visitors Bureau was extremely accommodating and spent a lot of time with us, or with me. It was very, very excited about having us there. So they're doing a remarkable job, I think, of trying to make this a good thing for us. I've also been in contact with 2 additional hotels. The one hotel that was presented by the committee was not satisfactory to me, and I wound up having meetings with 2 other facilities that same day and was able to get 2 other blocks, and we're still working on negotiating the specifics of that. So we should have some options for people, and they're all very conveniently located, so everybody should be pleased with those various options. So anyway, it's looking pretty good, and we can talk more about that later. But I just wanted you to know that that is progressing nicely, and compared to what I was concerned about, we were hopefully ahead of schedule on getting that whole thing launched. So, all right, interviewing, finalizing appointments. I think I have 2 county chair appointments to finalize right now. There was a question about one of them related to the interview procedure, which was a policy question, which led me to realize that we didn't have an updated policy on the website. So I know that Anastasia is working on that. Region 7, obviously you all know that our Region 7 rep has resigned, and Lynette Gabbard, she resigned a few weeks ago, and the Region 7 chairs unanimously voted to make Donovan our rep.
Don't tell me why.
I'll check in, we'll be quiet.
Just stand there. All right, so that's the thing. We do currently have a vacancy in the alternate position, but the region chairs, for a moment, we felt a little bit of a sense of urgency to try to get someone to this most recent LNC meeting in DC, because Mr. Pankey was not going to be able to attend. But we decided that that wasn't in our best interest, so we, the region chairs will be getting together again to decide about the alternate position to get that filled with a more appropriate time frame, so that we can have some time to deliberate and consider people. So if you have any interest or suggestions for anyone who could be our alternate for the LNC for the remainder of this term, you can just let me know. You can post on the forum. Just make sure you're very clear about the subject of your post in there so that I can catch it, or you can email me directly. I will tell you that it is typically, like historically, again, we're talking about precedent here. We've not ever had to, in the past, we've always had the whoever was from Texas was the rep, and then someone from another state was the alternate. So this was a weird situation this time, but now we're back to having the Texan as the rep. And, so the alternate typically would not be from Texas. So if you want to nominate a whole bunch of people from Texas, probably not. I mean, you know, the Region 7 chairs might go for it, but it's just kind of not how we've operated in the past. And so anyway, just putting that out there. Anything can happen. Outreach and media. Been kind of quiet lately, but continuing to collaborate with communication. The communications department lets me know and other people know when we get inquiries from the media or when we get inquiries from other organizations. Somebody sent out a request for us to participate in a panel, sent it to the events department. So thank you, Jody, for funneling that to me. That was weird. Turns out I will be on that panel. It is with a sorority on September 16th. It'll be just an online thing. When I have more specifics about it, I can send it to you guys if you want to watch it. But it's just going to be a Zoom conference. It'll be a panel with myself, just kind of coincidentally with Linda Curtis, the director of the League of Independent Voters, who we've already been working with a lot. She actually was part of that sorority. So she'll be on it, and I don't remember the other person who was on it. But anyway, more details on that as it comes. So thank you for anybody who winds up getting any sort of inquiries like that or requests. Just you can funnel them to the appropriate parties, and we'll do our best to be everywhere we can be. Freedom Fest, we did, Kate and I did go to Freedom Fest. That was in Memphis this time, back in July. It was a much smaller event. The organizers were even complaining about how few attendees were there. I liked it because it just made the libertarians stand out more. So that was nice to see, get to run into the libertarians more at that event. It was really refreshing. Tribune Festival coming up at the end of the month. I'll be attending that. It's not really the kind of, like, we're not gonna have a booth. It's not worth it for that. This is more of an information gathering kind of thing. It's not the kind of thing where you go and, get donors and such, but every interaction can lead to that. So I'll be there for that. It's on the UT campus, and I think they're using the Omni there in downtown Austin for a lot of their events. That's September 21st through the 23rd. And it just happens it's like Thursday through Saturday. So it's not real convenient for people who have day jobs. But anyway, that's the thing we'll be doing. Political staff monitoring since the session. I think we all kind of like hit a lull. No, Kevin did. Continue to monitor third-party activity. I am in close contact with the leaders of the other third parties nationally and across the state and some in other states. So just kind of keeping tabs on what they're doing. And then continuing outreach to legislators, like the ones that I was able to connect with during the session, continuing to talk to them and see them. That's been a good thing. And I'll just go ahead and mention this. One of the big pieces of feedback that I got from the team that we had there at the Capitol, but then also from our professional lobbyist, was using this downtime that we have. Well, it's not technically downtime, but using this space between legislative sessions to continue to foster those relationships. And it's not just us, it's all of you too. I mean, you have counterparts by way of senators in your districts, and you can be, and reps. And I do it with mine. The one that was mine for a while, my seat flipped after, 30 plus years from Republican to Democrat. Same Republican that was in that seat for 24 years, and all of a sudden they're brand new Democrat in there, and I got redistricted last time, so he's not my rep anymore. But we have a very, very good. He actually came off the House floor to come talk to me while I was there at the Capitol. So those things matter, and they don't know why we take the positions we take unless we tell them. And so you need to be having those face-to-face moments with them, because if we're just out there opposing things on a regular basis, they don't really know why. And so I think a lot of, and Kevin can probably talk more about this, but a lot of our successes during this legislative session, a lot of the things that we were able to get blocked, or things that never really came up, was because of procedural reasons, because we had legislators taking procedural steps to block these things or prevent these things from happening. I can't say that it was because of our actual position and the rationale behind it, because we didn't get to talk to all of them about that. And we enjoyed the benefit this time of both of those chambers basically just trying to choke each other out and waste as much time and block each other's ridiculous agendas. We benefited from it, but we could do better if we could continue to develop these relationships and head this stuff off before anybody ever even pitches it. So, and that has to come from us, because again, they don't know why we feel the way we do. They don't know why these things are wrong. Nobody's ever explained it to them, and they haven't needed to understand it. We need to make them understand it. And then hopefully we can not have to do this again. Donor cultivation continuing. Obviously, Jenny, you're amazing. So much of Jenny's time could be better spent right now, but we're transitioning back to another CRM, as you know, and it's almost done. Thank you to everybody in here who is working on that. Yes, thank you for getting that done. I was so excited to see the convention website pop up there, ready for us to start plugging stuff in. The new website is up and running sometimes. And you have to put the HTTP.
www.
Yes. I did it with just www and it didn't work. But when I did the HTT thing, it worked. Like within the absence I've been in here. So anyway, we'll get it. It's fine. Thank you so much. But yes, we want to make sure we get Jenny to a place where seamlessly she can be doing her job. So, and we've got call time that we often have to cancel because we don't have a list. Yeah, we're working on it. It's good stuff. So thank you, Jenny, and everybody else who's working on that and for your patience. But yeah, and of course, all of you guys, go raise some money. Other things, continuing to confer with both of our legal teams. I'll have updates on both of those later. Continuing to work with the Association of Libertarian Educators. They're much more active. They actually wound up having their first meeting in DC, second meeting since their inception. I'm still on the board of the Association of Libertarian Educators. If you know anybody who's interested in that, anyone who's an educator or even students, even homeschool parents. We've got homeschool parents in this organization. So always, if you ever come across anybody who might be interested in that, the goal of that is to provide some support for educators, professional educators who don't feel that they can be themselves in their work environment. Being one of those people, that's why this is so important for me. And then also, in some ways, kind of funneling people to the party. So both of those things are important because the people who are, reaching our students all day, every day, need to be able to be libertarians freely without getting in trouble for it. And we're just trying to find ways that we can help them do that. County events. I was able to go to Montgomery County this past week. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I do lots of fun stuff. Harris County does fun stuff too.
Yes.
They do bowling and trivia nights.
Oh, why are you looking at me?
I told them about karaoke.
Montgomery County
I
wants
did.
to challenge Harris County.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It's gonna be
So we may have to borrow someone from Guadalupe County to help us out.
The Texas Coalition Against the Death Penalty, that's our one sort of most active coalition right now. Continuing engagement with them. They reached out to us because they are doing this thing now where there are death penalty cases being heard or being tried in courts, particularly where they're where they're most corrupt, like here, Tarrant County, Montgomery County, those kinds of places. They are really trying to monitor these death penalty trials, and so they reached out to us to ask if we had anybody here, actually in El Paso, a few weeks ago, who could attend a capital murder trial for someone here. And fortunately, Dave Marino was able to participate in that. And what they are looking for, and I'll just go ahead and show this to you because there may be further requests for it, or you can go find these opportunities on your own. But what they're looking for are courtroom observers who are there, and they provide you with guidelines, things to look for, and if things to look for to make sure, because the goal is to the best of our abilities, being civilians in this case, try to ensure fair trials, obviously. And so, and then the goal of the coalition is to get the death penalty off the table as much as we can. So anyway, thank you to Dave for attending that. And I know that you said that without the list, the information that they provided you, things to look for, you may not have ever even considered it. So if you're at some point willing to share what that was, if it's okay with them, that might be good information for all of us if we ever have to sit and watch trials. Things to look for, and so the man ultimately was convicted and sentenced to death. So we didn't do anything to stop that at this point, but it was still, I think, a good experience for people, and I wish more people would have been able to have that opportunity to go see it. So as those things come across, I will share them with you, but this one was kind of a quick turnaround, and it happened to be right here in El Paso. So all right, national platform and credentials committees. I will be putting this on the forum. Consider this like the, I guess, call for nominations or applications. I think we've done it in the past where Texas gets an additional appointee to the national platform and credentials committees. So we know we've had a bunch of people apply across the country to be on those committees. I believe the LNC is currently voting on those. They may have finalized.
But the OPA votes are out right now for the LNC appointed. So we actually have, the vote is open now electronically for credentials platform for those two committees.
Okay.
For filling the LNC appointed.
Correct. So once the LNC votes, time is up on this, but this is the last I have. Once the LNC votes on that, this secretary, national secretary, Karen Carlos, has told me she's going, as I requested, as I always do, the list of any Texas applicants who did not get chosen by the LNC. So I like to see those so that we can kind of start with that pool, because these are people who have already expressed that they're interested in that. And if the LNC didn't pick them, then maybe we can add them on there. So we'll be doing that. Just watch for that in the next couple weeks. The deadline for us to do that, I think, is like December 12th or something. So we have plenty of time, but I would like to get it done before that, like October 31st deadline, which is kind of the delegate count deadline anyway. So we can, in the past, we've done also an application process. We can talk more about this on the forum or like casually at lunch, kind of just come up with a consensus on how we want to proceed with that. But no rush for it. We've got until December, but just be prepared for that. And then we'll talk later, I guess, about the delegate apportionment. The Texas is going to have 77 seats at the national convention. So that's all I have. And time is up. So,
Chair, just a quick question.
Yeah.
How many other states get to do that?
The top 5. So it's 5 other states. The basically the largest 5 are the ones that have the top 5 with membership numbers for national.
Okay.
So we've always been one of them. But it's only those 2 committees. Good question. So obviously Florida used to be California. I'm not sure what's happening there right now, but okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Good morning. Yeah, so the last few months, I've been working with Andrew, Austin, Paul, Bo, and a few other departments and people for switching over to CVC or leaving CVC and moving to Nation Builder. So, yeah, we pulled all our data out of CVCRM, imported it into Nation Builder. I think we're still getting some cleanup done on that, but it's mostly pretty good. So Janine should be able to use it soon to start tracking down donations and getting us money. So the website is now live. It looks good. Yeah, it's pretty basic right now. I did add this morning our SLEC meetings on here in the news area, so people can go to our website and watch live. We have the events calendar. I mean, pretty much everything that we had before is on here. We have a nice map that shows where all the events are. So please, if you're a county chair or on SLEC and you know of LP events happening, just click this link here, fill out this form, and we'll get it added to the calendar. Right now, there's only a few events on here, so I'd like to see real red pins all over Texas here. Other than that, the site's pretty much the same as before. We have a few of our platform. Leadership page. Everyone that's on SLEC. You know, click this, you can email whoever. Staff page.
Send us headshots, please.
Yes, please, yeah. Mainly for SLEC. Most of the staff, there's a few new people that we don't have photos yet, but yeah. SLEC, yeah, but we're missing a lot of people. Well, we have a lot of open seats, but other than the open seats, we do have a few people here we don't have photos for. So please email them to me or post them in Discord.
Kyle, if we want to update our pictures.
Yes, if you have a better picture, or just send it to me.
Okay.
As you get younger, you're definitely going to want to update your pictures.
Right. The only main page that's not set up yet is the county affiliates page. So it's not set up. So we'll be working on that over the next few weeks. There's a lot of counties. Yeah. Coalition page is updated. Even updated the new Twitter icon.
It's actually.
Yes.
Are you needing some information from county affiliates sent to you for that page?
We have all the info. We just have to create a page for each county, and there's like.
Are you wanting pictures of those chairs and stuff
We-
too, or?
In the past, we've had chair pictures. I don't. I'm not sure how we're designing that page yet. That's a conversation I need to have with our IT team. Because we're either just going to list it by affiliate counties, or before, when we were on Nation Builder years ago, we had the photos of the county chairs that provided photos. I don't know. There's pros and cons of both
Anything to do
ways.
with our county donation page?
Yeah. We'll include if you
We need
have
money too.
Yeah. If you have a website or a Facebook or a Twitter, we'll include all your social media links. To make it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a county that's raising money, make sure you have a bank account for it and a treasurer.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah, with the governance page here, which has the reports, obviously, those bylaws, I think, is out of date. So we're waiting on an updated one from Anastasia. But you can donate. We have a page here about our appreciation program. Fancy little pins and things that you can get from Jenny. What levels and everything it takes, how much you have to donate. And then there's all the different levels. If you click on a level, there we go.
Thank you for clicking on that one. Highly encourage that one.
Yeah. Everyone should do this level. But yeah, you can pay with Google. If you create an account on the website, you can use Google Pay, if not just credit card. It's not sure
Is the store still available, Carl?
Yes. At the very top here, there's store.
Yeah.
Hey, look.
We have free shipping.
Oh, look at those groovy stickers.
Yeah, those are nice stickers.
Great shirt.
Yeah, so the store's still there. And then we have forms here if you want to volunteer. You yeah, well, mine's already pre-filled in, I guess. And then there's join, and we just want to get information. And then there's the news page, which I'll be working with the comms department and other departments to help fill this out, so we actually have news updated more often than once or twice a year. It's been on our previous site. So yeah, it's a work in progress. But if there's a feedback form that we created that was posted in Discord and the SLEC and staff channels. So if you have any other questions, fill out that form or talk to me this weekend. So any other questions about the website right now? No? Okay. Other than that, yeah, pretty much all my time has been working on the website. I have done a few interviews, and that's it. So I'll yield the rest of my time unless there's any questions. Okay, thank you.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to still have the Bitcoin donation stuff?
Yeah. We're gonna have to add that in again. Yeah, I just realized the other day, I was like, oh, the Bitcoin thing. And it is by, we had it on the Old Nation Builder site too, so I'll be able to add it back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So. Anastasia's not here. So we'll go ahead and move on to, unless Jocelyn, you don't have anything to report on her behalf.
I do not.
Okay. All right, thank you. So yes. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry that the treasurer's report was very light and late this time. Just dealing with some personal stuff, but that's behind me. So now I'm going to be a lot more active and a lot more available. But Jocelyn's been amazing. She has been doing a lot of the income and she's learning a lot with the expenses and the reports. She did about 50% of the work with the TEC report, which we did file. And so that's out there. It's on Ignite. All the reports, all financial reports are on Ignite. And that's where I'm going to be posting them. I'm not going to be posting them on the forum anymore because I do believe that the detailed stuff, like where vendors are, all that kind of stuff, it needs to be some work. Like, I don't want the general public to just have that to consume. I would prefer them to go to you, request that information. You can ask the questions of why do they want it, because that's what it's supposed to be. The reps are supposed to be somewhat of a filter, a gatekeeper to our information and protecting the party, even though it is public, it is out there for the public. There's reasons why there has to be some work involved in getting that. I mean, just like the government does it, right? You have to put some work and time and fees. Just lucky I'm not charging you. So Ignite, if you have your NDA, obviously that also helps too. So everything's there on Ignite now. We're updated on that. We're still looking pretty good with our cash reserves from the 2 previous years. Yes, we've hit a bit of a slump. I know that Colby and a few people have requested an extended trend graph of our overall income, and I have the data, but I left it there, and it's more of I need to customize the graph the way the data that you guys have requested and the way it needs to look, so it's just easy to consume. So what I'm going to do is this week, that is something I'm going to complete, and I am going to post on the forum because it's just going to be very generalized data. There won't be any numbers. It's just going to be a graph. And I will stay on top of that as well and include that into my treasurer's report going forward. So we do have the income breakdown. Obviously, May events and legislative action had a huge increase in donations, and of course, April leading up to that event as well. June, there was a bit of events because that's just people paying for auction stuff and items that they needed to pay for online, bigger items. Sorry, I was one of them. So with our cash reserves, with our fundraising for our directed donations, we're able to do more than just keep the lights on. I think the just keep the lights on is far behind us at this point. But now it's a matter of we need to be bringing in donations. I do not want to see the next budget where any of the budgets are going down because of our in membership right now, in coming that way. We're not having a slump in direct donations, but we are in monthly. I think it does have to do with the National City CRM, and we are going to see a little bit of that in this transition too, because if Jimmy's going to be able to say more about that, donate. And, up your donation. I'm going to pledge right now that I'm going to go from a gold monthly to a platinum monthly with this transition. So you've got me down for that. And I encourage everybody else to do the same because we are leaders and we need to lead by example. And we're the ones creating the budget and we believe in it. So we've got to put our money where our mouth is. This room definitely is the ones that need to live by that. So really, we're staying under budget, even with income being a little low. We're staying under budget, but for the year, with our expected income, it's not looking so great. Right now, we are overall in the red for this budget, and it's our cash reserves from the past couple of years that is continuing us to do the things that we need to do and to grow as a party like we should be doing. But we should not be relying on that. The cash reserves that we have should be there for us to continue to grow, and luckily we have that, but it should not be. We should be maintaining on membership donations and regular donations. So again, money where your mouth is. Other than that, if anybody has, I'm going to talk about a couple of things I've done in my office, and then I'm going to open up for questions. I attended Freedom Fest. That was, like what he said, it was actually quite refreshing. It was a low attendance event that there were a lot more libertarians present than, some other party that shall not be named. It was refreshing. It was nice. There was a lot of new speakers and entertainers that we had never seen before. And usually going to conferences like that, it's kind of like this recycle of the same people saying the same thing. And once you do that, you're like, is it worth me spending all this money, attending? But this one was different. There was a lot of new people, a lot of new faces, people that even Whitney has never got to meet before. And we made some new acquaintances and got to meet some new speakers that had a different take on modern politics. And it was really nice. So I also met, I love doing the talent stuff behind the scenes. I met with quite a few talented people. And I think that was a really successful Freedom Fest, just due to who we were able to talk to. I am assisting in convention planning, just since I have that background, and I also, see the live numbers all the time. So I'm assisting in that in the capacity of budgeting, and we get to ticket sales and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also going to be assisting in possibly bringing in talent and sponsors and that kind of thing as well. I do plan personally going to the Texas Nationalist Movement Convention in November. And because I did speak with TNM at Freedom Fest as well. And I think we need to be just having that relationship, having those conversations, and being there, because there are lots of libertarians within that movement, and they are a single issue, kind of, you know what I mean? Like but definitely bring that into the libertarian aspect. So I'm gonna go to that convention and see who I can talk to. And they have said that they do have a mechanism that if you are a Texas nationalist and you run for office as a libertarian, they could potentially financially support you through their PAC in their campaign. You just do have to pledge that you agree to their mission, which is to make Texas a independent republic again from the Union. Which I think some people in here don't have a problem with that. We filed TEC. Jocelyn has continued her training, and she's doing incredibly well. I just had to tell her one time, and she's on it. She's like, I'll take it from here. And I'm like, yes. Could not have picked a better bookkeeper, and could not have endorsed a better candidate for the office of treasurer in the future. So she continues to impress me with her work ethic, and yeah. So, and thank you for hanging out with me all the time. I did write terms for the donation page. We did write terms previously for the refund policy for like events and stuff. That's going to continue when we go into this transition, especially for convention. But I did write terms for our donation page in terms of membership, but also contributions. One thing that we were seeing is people calling their credit card processor and challenging a donation and having it taken out of our account after they had pledged that donation or made that donation, which now is going to be against the policy, because it should be. Like, contributions are non-refundable and they're not tax deductible. So we have made that clear. Donation terms, of course, is going to be those for the non-membership donation terms, like those one-time, non-membership donations. It's basically going to say contributions are not tax deductible and non-refundable, and then it will be, obviously are agreed to be contacted by the methods provided in the form. That way we don't have to deal with any of the other stuff kind of brings down the work in some other ways. And same thing with the automatic renewal. We just need that because that's how the system is going to be. So I think those were simple. I think those are terms that you will see at any nonprofit organization. and it protects us in a financial way. And further, I do have, I'm not going to be naming names of organizations, but I am going to be taking meetings with people who I would consider small L libertarians, but because of the way the political environment is right now, they're taking notice of the Libertarian Party of Texas, and I've known them personally for decades, and they are ready to they're the ones that reached out to me and had a conversation. They're like, we want to know what the party's actually doing. And I know a lot of what they're looking at was what happened with ballot access laws and just the slightiness of what the other parties are doing to prevent voters from having a voice. And I'm going to be speaking with them. And these people are capable of writing those big checks. So I will update you, and hopefully you'll be able to see it on the next quarter, big influx of cash. But we need to start having those conversations. We need to start reaching out to different organizations and people, even that, because I know we have some friendships that we don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for, exploit, but I think it's time, because everybody's affected by the current economic conditions, right? So I think it's time that we start bringing that in. So I'm gonna do that as well, and I think that's for me. So I'm opening up for questions.
Two things. Is there anything in the budget that you would recommend to SLEC that is an issue in light of the fact that we're operating in the red? We could say we need to reconsider what's budgeted there.
Well, factually, if you look at the events department under fundraiser events, that one is scroll. Oh, it's down. It'll be right there. In the middle. Well, no, up. There you go, right there. The very, very bottom.
The department name is under its budget.
Right. Don't panic on that one. I've talked with Jody, with Whitney, and Andrew, and I think it's a matter of different accounting as events are done. It's a different accounting, and then it translating into what we do as an organization. I think it's a policy change that needs to be, or a new understanding of that department, and potentially development department, if they ever decide that they're going to be the ones that take over fundraising event planning. Which in my opinion should be separate. So that is something that I know Jody's going to address, and I do have her support in how we amend that. And remember, it was the budget for me to say 12,000, and I think that needs to be increased. So
that answers my question. The second question I have is with regards to the credit card deal for donations. I know that recently I got a new card for my bank, debit card, whatever, and I'll probably use that to apply for what's going to be taken out. My question is there something that, and I may have asked this before, I just don't remember, is there something that notifies the Libertarian Party, Texas treasurer, whoever needs to know that, hey, this bounced? And
it does, and Jenny's the one who.
So I'd get
development department. You'll either get a call or email or a text from Jenny, depending on what she thinks your relationship with her is and how open you are to that. And she's going to be making a lot of phone calls with this transition. If you're already a monthly member in the old city, we're going to have to redo that. So she'll talk more about that. She's got that under control. Otherwise, I think the departments are doing a very, very good job looking at the budgets, maintaining within their budget, and even sharing where they know that they've got a surplus for departments who are needing it. Like, for instance, with Nickel and Nation Builder. That was a really wonderful collaboration of people chipping in $500 from their discretionary to say, hey, we need to fund this, instead of us having to come to SLEC and, do that. So I really appreciate that. Everybody's on point. It's been really great. My biggest concern over the budget is not the money really being spent. It's the money that's not coming in. That's my concern. And I think everybody's having that concern nationwide. So it's not anything unique to us, but we are Texas and we do better and we are bigger. So let's light that fire under our asses and get that money. Shake everybody down.
I just upped my monthly donorship to gold.
Oh, so yeah, that's it for me. If anybody has any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we take a bio break.
Yes, I was going to say, at this point, it looks like we are right about an hour from lunch, and given the next, pardon me? I was just about to say, it looks like we've got about 20 minutes of wiggle room. Checkout time, I was just informed, is noon, but that is during your lunch break, which means you might want to take care of that now. And so we've got about 15 minutes really now of wiggle room if we wanted to, assuming that the next two people stay on time. If we wanted to do that, I don't know if we want to make it 15 minutes to also allow time for checking out. So if there's no objection to that, we will.
Okay.
We'll recess for just a few minutes, for 15 minutes, for the purposes of taking care of your needs and checking out. So, what's that? Yes. 10:50. Be back at 10:50.
Come back.
So now they can be.
No, it's a resolution.
Well,
That's all right.
Okay, cool.
I can make sure
Make that work.
There we go.
Okay.
I think that's all about, I think that's about, all that, it's all PowerPoint.
I'm arguing with your representative, this guy.
It feels fine to me.
Medicine, it is, when a fetus dies in the womb, it is healthcare in the womb, which requires an abortion. I'm sorry, but that is the case. He's an idiot. I love reading, I love your comments.
I like to mess with them.
We're arguing.
Possibly have a length of explanation.
Yes.
That's what sits.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have everybody back?
How come there's not a therapy or syndrome?
we have enough now.
Yeah, okay. All right, Andrew, whenever you're ready. 20 minutes to hear from the executive director to start our staff reports. Mr. Moreno, do you know how far of a drive the lunch place is?
15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Tops.
So if you can get out early, that'd be great.
No pressure, Andrew.
No questions, no questions. Okay.
That's right.
I will try to keep this a little bit short. I'm trying to stick to high level, kind of 30,000 foot view stuff so that the department directors can have their say, not have it all be preempted. But I do want to give you a little bit of where we are as a party, just kind of contextualize the information that you're getting here today from the officers and staff. And then if we have time for questions and you're all in the mood, I'll take some questions. We rolling back to the first year, going into the spring, obviously we come to the legislative action season and session. That was kind of a whirlwind. It wasn't helped any by the departure of Andy Burns from National and the downward slope on the city situation that we were trying to get on top of. It was helped a lot by the energy and by Mr. Kevin Hale that I'd like to recognize, and by the many volunteers that showed up, either in Austin or to read bills and so on and so forth. You hear more about that, I'm sure, from Frank. What that development raised money, they set out to raise over 15K. We identified about 100 volunteers that are actually willing to work and do stuff when needed, answer a call to action, and get in the game. We also, through our new mode platform, picked up about 400 unique or original contacts, like names we don't recognize that are prospects, that if they care about ballot access, which was what most of that was about, then they look like good candidates for a phone call, email, or some other kind of outreach from our outreach and volunteer coordinators. And we'll hear more about that later. But that's a warm list, I would say, and we'll be working on that soon. A lot of this stuff has been tabled temporarily, which I guess is redundant, because of the problem with the CRM. That I cannot overstate what a pain in the ass that has been. For various reasons, multiple reasons, many people involved, decisions were made. But it's somewhere between flying blind, flying an airplane without instruments, and I had an experience once where a transmission blew out on a van driving across the Texas desert on I-10. And I only had first gear. Like, that's all I had. Transmission, I had first, I could creep, but that got old. So at some point, it's like, I'm not driving back to Vernon at 15 miles an hour. Like, we're just going to call a tow truck and we're done here. We're going to do something else. And that's what we did coming out of the legislative session. It was time. We waited a little while to see what was going to happen with Civi. That became untenable. Carter Cole ran a survey of the department heads and the people that would be using CRM, see what our needs were. I took over and prepared about 9 to 10 platforms that looked possible, and gradually came to the realization that we were going to go home. We were going to come back to Nation Builder.
There were a couple of different reasons for that. You can ask me about it if you want details, but just that looked like the way to go. So in June, we signed a contract with Nation Builder, and we've been working on that since. I should also mention, as a parallel deal, we went through a season of rapid staff growth through specific recruiting efforts. In June, we added 3 more staff, lost Carter, so it's net of 2. But we added Austin Dugan as IT coordinator, where he's been tearing it up. Added Nathan Garza as a coalition coordinator, and that's and recently Mike Dugan has come on as our new operations director and looking for good things. Mike's a good guy, so happy with that. But otherwise, we're going to slow the roll on volunteer recruiting because this Nation Builder thing is consuming. It's kind of all consuming in terms, from my point of view, not necessarily everybody's, but for some of us, it's the thing that has to happen before the other things can happen. So it gets all the attention. Mike and I are talking about volunteers and working with volunteers and the number of volunteers that we want to bring on now as we're swinging into the election season, and we need people to work campaigns and get involved. And normally that's a good time to bring new people in, bring in new blood. We have got to develop or find some third-party vendor, but we have got to develop our internal training resources for our volunteers. If not full-blown training problems, maybe we could just programs, not problems, programs, and maybe we could just start with some simple orientation information like congratulations and welcome, thank you for volunteering. Here's some stuff you need to know about how we do things. Even if it's a one-pager, I'm reminded of the great SLEC expectations sheet that was passed out at the 2020 convention, where new SLEC reps, well, everybody, but especially for the new ones, we're given a one-pager that says, here's kind of what you should, this is what you got yourself into. Congratulations. So that's very helpful. So been talking to Mike some about that. Historically, I've spent some time talking to Jesse about, training and how we onboard our volunteers. And that's going to be, there's a synergy here as we put together the platform, the funnel for bringing people into the party. Then it's what did you say, Mike? Acquisition, training, engagement, or deployment? Retention. Yeah, big word.
People
So
need to feel like they're at the top.
yeah, how do we keep that feeling, keep that warm feeling? So, and that goes for donors and volunteers, or all of us, almost all of us, or both. A lot of people are playing both sides. Some people have more time than money. Some people have more money and time. Some of us can give a little of both. But as we build out Nation Builder, we will also be, as the toolkit, we will be building out our staff and our ability to use the tools. One of the problems we had with Nation Builder a couple of years ago was that we weren't using it. It was like the guy with the chainsaw that doesn't think he's getting the results he's supposed to be got. And he takes it to the store, and the guy starts it up and he says, "What's that noise?" Like it's that kind of thing. We were using Nation Builder at a fraction of its potential. So we're gonna see if we can solve that problem through some internal training. Let's see here. I guess, so that summer has been pretty much focused on acquiring, doing the data, from my point of view, on doing the data migration, making sure we're clean going in. I think Nation Builder has done the best job they could have done, merging archival, the files that we had left over from when we shut down Nation Builder last July, and then merging that with the data we were able to extract from City, which was sort of like our final kick in the ass from City, just in terms of how difficult and kind of gnarly it was to pull out the information we needed to move forward. What we have left is a work in progress. We'll be filling that out. You'll be contacted to verify contact information and the demographic data that we have on you as a person. You'll be contacted if you are a recurring subscription to move your donation over to the Nation Builder processor. If you were here last summer, then you know the drill, right? Because you got the phone call and you had you sign up a new subscription, preferably at the next highest level of commitment, and then we see that it would be better, belt and suspenders, for you to just go ahead and let Jenny know that you have moved, you've ported over to the new system. But it's okay. We do, when we get the notifications and we see people signing up for recurring subscriptions, then it's our job to cancel your existing subscription. You know, your new sign up in Nation Builder does not automatically cancel your old subscription. So we'll take care of that manually. We will eventually, you know, last time out, turn off the lights, we will eventually leave authorized and be entirely within Nation Builder. That's a tactical decision. We were using authorized with Civi. We were using authorized with Nation Builder in our previous incarnation. That was before Nation Builder had built out a new set of donation pages and a new integration with Stripe to make a more powerful and compatible unified relationship there for processing our transactions. We had some kind of horror story stuff from the previous Nation Builder installation. Civi was no picnic. The communication and being able to having to check multiple platforms to see if you can piece together what the truth in is not optimal, would be the nicest thing I can say about that. We're looking for one source of truth, one place where we can go find out what we need to find out about our supporters and our prospects, and that's going to be Nation Builder. Yeah, let me. Is it right now? What?
You had mentioned let me know. That would be via email, please. LPTexas.org. We're making a bunch of texts. It's hard to keep track of, but email.
If you want to let Jenny know that you have made the move, and you need to have the old subscription canceled, please write Jenny at LPTexas.org and let her know. Last thing, so where we are coming out of summer, we're celebrating some wins with legislative action work. We are, some of us at least, are celebrating the big win, getting off of Civi and getting out of that environment. I'm still on I must be a masochist somewhere, because I'm still on the CRM state administrator's email. Right? Am I right? and there's still, it's all complaints. It's all, why can't we get this done? Oh, well, if that's the only guy who can do this work, it's going to be months from now before I can get this taken care of. We're out of that game. We got Nation Builder, we got Austin and Kyle. We're ready to rock and roll. So that's the good news. So what that looks like, moving into the fall, we need to complete this donor migration, and we need to get Nation Builder built out the way it is supposed to operate, like with good, reliable, useful information in it. We're going to get that done. It is going to include and necessarily incorporate a review and a revamping of our donor processes and our volunteer processes. Acquire, train, retain. Like we'll build those out in the toolkit, and with some of our Nation Builder's automated workflows and email drip automation stuff, we have the ability to build funnels and then cross-purpose. You know, if somebody wants to volunteer, that's like, great. Would you like to also become a donor? Somebody wants to donate. Great. Would you also like to sign up for our newsletter or become a volunteer for one of our activism things? To do that. And then with that, we'll be able to reboot our fundraising and recruiting efforts now that we have a working toolkit, working platform to base that on. I'm going to ask y'all respectfully to join us in this operation. We are, a little reminder, I mentioned this from time to time, I'm going to get on Kate's wavelength here. The job description of a district representative is the district representatives shall actively work to further the growth of the party. I'm trying to get the quote right, but that's what it says in the rules. The district representatives shall actively work to further the growth of the party. That's the job description. Now, question. I'd be interested to know how many of y'all, when I first got on SLEC, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I got myself into. It was throw them in the deep end and they'll figure out how to swim, or they won't. And while we're working on these various paths for alignment with our volunteers and donors and looking at possible orientation information or welcome to LPTexas information, would it be helpful, do you guys think it would be helpful if we had some kind of orientation or training, some kind of initial way to on-ramp freshmen SLEC reps into the body? Is that just kind of show of hands? Who thinks that's a good idea? Yeah, who thinks that's a terrible idea?
Thrown back in the deep end.
Carol.
Didn't Scott Ford mention this in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
His mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Ford was Mr. Training, but yeah, okay, that, so we'll look at that and figure out what the best way to approach that is. But that is, you know, finding donors, leading from the front, being a donor, being a volunteer, which most of y'all are doing great, but also finding donors and finding volunteers in your Senate district. That's how we grow. That's how we build the party. FYI, fun fact, Nation Builder is premised on the idea of crowdsourced work. In other words, anybody that's involved with this, and all of us, if you're engaging with Nation Builder at all, and then if you're using the share facilities to pass that information out through your social media outlets or via email, then this information you're passing out is automatically linked with a recruiter tag, and it will track the, you know, if somebody joins the party in response to your email or from your social media post, you'll get credit for recruiting volunteers. If somebody makes a donation because of something you shared, you'll get credit as a fundraiser. So the downside is we're watching you. Like we'll see now really who's getting results and who's not. But that's a good thing. That's good. You get to actually see what's coming in from the distributed outreach efforts of all of us. Just a second. What's my time look like, John? 5. Okay, fine.
For the record, I'm short, so I can.
Okay. Well, I don't. I guess but you have a question?
Clarifying, that's only the links through Nation Builder, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, which includes our website. Like if you're sharing stuff off our website, that would apply also. I want to put a bug in your ear for later on today, and just I want to open a can of worms and just lay something out for y'all for further discussion. We didn't have enough time in this cycle to present this as like a proposal, but to introduce you to the idea. We have kind of an ongoing accounting situation with our event production accounting. It's just a little weird. We're required by TEC. I have now, in the last 48 hours, had conversations with our chair, our treasurer, our events director, and our bylaws committee chairman about sort of how to address this. The normally an annual budget works fine for most planning purposes. We're required by TEC to file cash accounting reports, right? So we're kind of locked into a framework for that. But the thing is, we have a glitch, a kind of a, to my way of financial reporting, we have a bit of a misrepresentation in the sense that there are expenses being booked that are not really expenses, because if we didn't have if we didn't have event sponsors picking up the cost of the coffee you're drinking, or picking up the cost of the fun entertainment that we're bringing to some of these, or the speakers that we'll bring to some of these, then we wouldn't be able to do it, and we wouldn't do it. It's not money we're spending out of our pocket. It's money we only spend if we have donations and pledges lined up for that. So, and it's money that, for me, as long as I'm doing this, if we ask somebody for money for a thing and we don't do the thing, I want you to get your money back, like, or at least have the opportunity to get your money back. So in that sense, it's really a liability until it's incurred. Like it's a promise to do something that sits on the side until we actually spend the money. And we're just kind of a conduit to get your money to the hotel for the coffee, or to the magician, or the review, like to whatever the thing is that you agreed to give money to. So we've handled this a couple of different ways. It doesn't really matter. The math is going to be the same. The equation will be the same once you get this lined out. What we've done in the past is we've just had to roll this over SLEC meeting to SLEC meeting, because as our bylaws are currently written, you guys have to approve everything we spend. And so, and the way that gets applied is you're also having to approve the way we spend the money of the donors who agreed that that's the thing they wanted us to spend money on. I don't know. Some of y'all, your eyes are already rolling back. It's like, it doesn't have to get hammered out at this meeting. That would be a bad idea. But as we talk about how we spend money for events, we will have to, the donation money that comes in for sponsorships, for their expense reimbursement sponsors. My proposal, which would be a change in the way we've been doing it, and what I found out from talking to our bylaws chair, would probably result in us having to do what National does, which is keep 2 sets of books, basically. It'd be a set of books for TEC to do it the way they want to do it, and be a set of books for me and the treasurer and the people who are involved in the financial management of the organization to actually reflect the reality of our business the way we see it in our heads, right? And that may not be what TEC, they have other motives and other purposes. So, but I feel sorry for our treasurer.
Well, let me add to that. It's actually in our bylaws, so that's actually how our organizational budget has to be ran too.
Well, crap. Okay.
So that's
So-
where it is. It's not TEC
Okay.
that's dictating our budget.
Yeah.
It's the SLEC bylaws.
Okay, well then this may not even be a SLEC thing in the sense this is maybe more for future conversation. Now, 1 minute down. Okay, 1 minute left. This may be a future conversation between me, Donovan, okay, trying to work this out, and that would result in a bylaws proposal rather than a SLEC motion. That may be what we need to do. Unless and until we get that done, what'll happen is Jody will come back after each event and say, hey, look, we got this much money in sponsorships. That was like free money. Can we now roll that back into my budget authorization? Like we need to put that back on into her budget so that now she can go out and do another event. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hope so. Enough.
We'll
Makes
get it
sense
there.
enough?
We'll get it there. And
Okay,
it'll-
okay.
Once we get it set,
Yeah.
it will look correct visually. Right now, it just doesn't.
Right. So we're working on that. Just when you know what you're looking at. But hope that helps. I don't know. Okay.
As long as what we report to TEC is good, that's all I care.
Yeah, that's our main goal. But
True and correct.
Yes.
True and correct. That's all I really care about.
I'm out of time. I'm sorry, but we either extend time or I have to step out.
Motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Second. So time has expired on this item. Are there questions that have to be asked right now, or are these just questions you can follow up with them at lunch?
Keep in mind, I'm available. I'll answer your questions. It doesn't have to be done right now. In which case we have to extend time.
Yes.
That was almost second.
I can't believe there was a motion to extend time for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, he does.
Motion to extend for 5 minutes. Did someone second it?
Second.
Okay, and there was an objection. Okay. Who moved to extend?
I did.
For
Aaron
what,
Ramos.
for what purpose?
So that you could finish his report if you needed more time.
Is your report over?
Yeah.
His report is
Done.
done.
It would be Q&A at this point. Like that. I just wanted to mention the accounting thing, but otherwise that's
Okay. So, his report is over. The maker of the motion says it was strictly for him to be able to finish his report. His report is over.
I withdraw my motion.
Is there any objection to doing it that way? Okay. Technically, it belongs to the body, but it's nobody. Thank you. All right. So then, Jenny, are you next? No. Operations, Mike. Oh yeah. First time. You finished early.
So there's one thing that I learned today is make sure you go first. So you don't get preempted. But the preemption was the right thing to do, right? The number one thing that happened in operations, I've had this position now for just over 2 weeks. The main thing is a conversion of Civi to Nation Builder, and that was absolutely Kyle, that was absolutely Austin, that was absolutely Andrew, right? I just kind of hung out and listened to it, and occasionally asked questions of like, well, his button and it didn't work well, right? That's huge. We did this up lunch on the 21st. What I have done since I've had the position, I actually looked at the org chart, right, and said there's actually 4, arguably 5 positions under operations. IT, which is by far the largest, and consumed everything, right? So the question then becomes is, after we get up and running on that, how do we then kind of transition into a role where we can begin supporting our users, which are all of you, people are interested, volunteers, etc. The second part of that is volunteering, which is headed up by Darren Pollock. We did have a significant drop off in volunteers post the legislative session, which is to be expected. You know, and as Andrew talked about, we've been talking about, okay, how do we get that back up so we can get door knockers, get people involved in campaigns and start electing people into various local races. So that's the next step there. How do we acquire? How do we train? How do we give people the resources they need to be successful in those roles? And then retain them, which goes into the second bit that I was going to talk about. So the third component is outreach. So this is how do we go to conferences? This is the booth in a box stuff, those kinds of things. Oh, good, you got it up there, so I have to read on my little thing. Claire Underwood resigned, so I called her earlier this week and said, hey, look, you know, I'm doing this talk, and she and I hadn't talked yet. So I want to make sure that she had the opportunity to be a part of it. She had a lot of things going on. She was unable to continue in that space, so she resigned. I did talk to Jenny. Jenny is happy. She was a little unhappy with the amount of communication she got after Carter left. It was a period of about 3 months, maybe, where there wasn't a director. So I committed to reaching out to her and saying, okay, how do you want to play this moving forward? I think we've got the opportunity for outreach. I think that's a big chunk of that is without a political department and coalition as well. HR, go ahead.
Carter didn't leave for announcement. Yeah. It was right after the electronic.
Yeah, because after the.
Literally
It was
that night.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
very
very
next
good.
day. It was, so, yeah.
2 months.
It was June.
It was the end of June.
June
So,
28th.
a month and a half.
Regardless, it's just something that needs to be dealt with. We need to create continuity, right? Because someday I won't be around. And you want to make sure whoever takes that spot is equipped to do it. Right. On the HR side, which is the fourth piece, I'll just go to the fifth piece because I think it's easy. Fifth piece is technically we've got some financial reporting. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's just working with Kate and the treasury. So I just have to pull that off. And that's handled completely. But the HR side, I think we've got some work on the HR side to do. I really do believe that. I think there's an HR policy that needs to be updated. You know, I think we need to take a look at that. I got some information earlier today that Andrew's looking at. How do we update that? And so those are the kinds of things we need to do. We need to update our job descriptions for the various roles we all hold in this organization. Many of us hold many roles. We need to make sure they're not conflicting with one another. We're not doing any deals that could be, you know, can cast anything negative on the party or on the organization, right? And it's easy when you get into a volunteer organization to allow all those things to slip, and we just can't afford to do that. You know, where we're positioned in the political landscape, right? We've got to make sure that everything is above board, everything's reported on, everything sounds right. And to Kevin's point earlier, it's just make sure whatever you tell TEC is right.
You don't want to be
Which
stuck
you
with
actually have
that.
me on Discord telling the city people like, whatever TEC believes, they should be able to whatever. So hopefully there will be more content next time, which is why I was perfectly happy to give time up. Again, Kyle, Bo, Carter, Austin in particular, and Paul were absolutely, you know, it was all day, every day. I'm unemployed, and I didn't have the capability to keep up with the amount of work they were doing to roll this out. So, I mean, it was just, it was interesting. So, questions, thoughts? Am I way off? Right, because again, I want to do it somewhat blindly. I want to make sure that I'm supporting you guys, because you are you're the executive body of this party.
So now that we're going back to Nation Builder, one of the big things for me with whatever CRM we're using is the tagging feature. So you mentioned volunteers, how we like there's been sort of a pruning of volunteers. That is normal.
Right.
People come on board for campaigns, people come on board for legislative stuff, and there's a lull that we all kind of experience. But tagging, I think, is really important, and I'm hopeful that we will make sure we can utilize that tagging feature to maximize it in the sense that when we interact with people, we can tag them as volunteers, but very specifically on what they're interested in. If they want to work on campaigns, or they want to work on legislative stuff. Having lots of options there where they can check the boxes to designate or tell us what specifically they want to work on, and then also being able to, when a project comes up or a campaign comes up asking for help, we can go straight to there and immediately pull a list of people who we know have already expressed interest in that. That is something you are like, and the team is working toward, right? That is
Right, so I have a question for the team, because I don't know the answer, because I'm an admin in the system.
okay.
So I presume I have a different view. But are folks able, maybe Kyle or Austin, are folks able to see their own tags? I mean, I can see my tags and everybody else's tags. Some of them are purely operational, like, legacy, city load. Others are volunteer.
I can't answer that question directly because I'm also an admin, so my view of that is as an admin.
Right.
I think it would be hard to have non-admin sign in.
Because I think a self-service option would be useful for your purposes, right? I think I'm interested in volunteering, so you can go run.
I would say that it should be visible to the members, because if somebody's labeled as something and they're saying, no, that's not correct, I don't have any interest in doing that, they should be able to see that.
The regular user that's not, doesn't have an account, can make an account, just a regular user account. Sign up.
So people who are in there, they have records in there,
And then you can
they
do.
can't choose to go in there and make it a little more like self-tagging.
Yeah, because it was like.
Okay.
But again, the main point is Kyle, Austin, and Andrew pulled this off 3 months,
Oh, yeah.
3 weeks. I mean, it was much longer than that, but the period I've been here, they're all over it. Please do report bugs. There will be bugs.
Thank you, David.
Right.
I think we're good at that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I have a question about the HR part, just something that I don't know about since we have a couple of minutes. I saw your goals and things to do, and I'm glad you have those. I think it's important to have goals and have some source of measurement to say that I'm meeting those goals. But it appeared to me, and I'm just, well, I don't want to be discouraging or anything like that. And I just wondered, what is our level of expertise with regards to HR in the staff? You may not be able to answer. You may have to give the chair or somebody else. But I'm just
In the
curious.
staff or general? I mean, I have.
So, for
significant
example, do we
experience.
have somebody that's been the vice president of HR in a corporation somewhere, or that sort of thing? What's our level of knowledge and experience and expertise with regards to HR?
We do have a couple of people in the room who have like professionally worked in that field, in that area.
So does that mean if they're not on the staff, but they're in the room, we consult them when we need help with something like that? Is that how that works?
You can, or bring them in to help establish policies that we don't already have.
Right. Or just make sure that they work.
You know who they are, they're interested.
What I'm trying to avoid is I'm trying to avoid some of the negative press of a nepotism problem, or Kate's got 15 receipts that add up to $10,000 and no one remembers what it was, and Kate's in Italy.
Oh.
Right?
Well, the problem is the question is.
Any of us show up asking John some questions.
What prompted the question is that my son used to be a VP of HR, ran his own business, consulting with other people about those things. And when I saw those goals, I thought, well, there seems to be some items that are really significant that are missing, and they may be already covered. I don't know. So that's why I was asking.
And really, that's the point of that, is like, let's make sure we got that, because I want to avoid some of the drama we're seeing in other places.
I'd encourage us to reach out to those people who are experts in the field and make sure we know what we're doing.
Thank you. Right? Right.
Yep. See, now you know why I was so eager to yield to that.
What is it, 5 minutes till lunch? So
Yes, ma'am.
we're not doing anything else. Let's go.
Move we do that.
Okay, any objections to breaking early, 5 minutes early?
Move.
Okay, so back here at 1. It is supposed to lock automatically when we close the doors. We want to test that real quick first before we commit to it.
And there's still space at the steak burger if you didn't RSVP.
Yes, yes, there's still space there, so. feel free to come. I Googled it, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.